The party's over. Canada is closing its doors. This isn't a slowdown, it's a purge. For the last decade, Canada sold the world a dream of open arms, easy pathways, and a welcoming society. That dream is now dead. The government in Ottawa has announced a new plan. It's not a plan for growth, it's a plan for survival. They've announced a hard cap, a Canada temporary resident cap. Their goal is to cut the temporary resident population down to just 5% of the total population. This must be done by the end of 2026. Let's be clear about what that number means. Right now, in late 2025, Canada's temporary resident population isn't 2.5 million. That's an old number. New data from Statistics Canada, which the government is terrified of, shows it blew past 3.1 million people. Cutting this population down to 5% means removing hundreds of thousands of people. People who are already here. People who are working, studying, and building lives based on that old dream. This is not a minor policy tweak. This is the start of a new restrictive immigration era. Canada is being forced to choose. It's a choice between its entire economic growth model and its own social stability. The 3.1 million temporary residents are the first casualty. I've spent 30 years analyzing North American policy. I've advised executives on geopolitical risk. I've seen this pattern before. This is not a proactive strategy. This is a political panic. The question is no longer if the cut is coming. The only questions that matter now are why the government is acting with such panic and who exactly is on the chopping block. The real reason, the why. The official statements from Ottawa talk about balance. They talk about sustainability and planned immigration. That is political theater. The real truth isn't in their press releases. The real truth is in the data. It's in the numbers of a system that is at its breaking point. For years, the government told its citizens that high immigration was the only way to fuel economic growth. They used GDP as the metric. But GDP is a lie. When you add millions of people, of course the total GDP goes up. But what about GDP per capita? What about the wealth of the individual? That number has been collapsing. The average Canadian is getting poorer, and they are finally connecting that poverty to two crises that are visible every single day. The first and most explosive is the housing market. This is the political time bomb that is forcing the IRCC temporary resident cut. Let's look at the hard numbers. According to the Royal Bank of Canada, in the fourth quarter of 2024, the average Canadian household income was roughly $87,000. The income needed to buy an average-priced home was $105,000. Think about that. The average family needs to double its income just to afford an average home. That's not a gap. That's a canyon. It is a mathematical impossibility for the middle class. The Canadian dream of home ownership is now a fantasy for anyone under 40. And for the 3.1 million temporary residents, they aren't buying. They are renting. This has pushed the rental market into a state of catastrophe. We look at something called the vacancy rate. A healthy vacancy rate is 3% to 5%. That means there are apartments available. According to the latest data from the CMHC, as reported by the City of Vancouver in early 2025, the vacancy rate in Toronto is 2.5%. In Vancouver, it's 1.6%. In many cities, it's effectively zero. This is what "why is Canada cutting temporary residents?" looks like in the real world. It means bidding wars just to rent a basement apartment. It means students living 10 to a room. It means young Canadian graduates are forced to move back in with their parents. The government didn't care when it was just an economic complaint. They are acting now because it has become a social crisis. They are terrified of social unrest. They are terrified of what happens when an entire generation has nothing to lose. This 5% temporary resident cap isn't about economics. It's about political survival. But housing is only half of the panic. The other half is the complete collapse of its socialized healthcare system. You see, in Canada, the government pays for healthcare. The system was designed in the 1960s for a stable, smaller population. It was never designed to absorb over 1 million new people every single year, and now it has fractured. The evidence is overwhelming. Let's start with the most basic promise, a family doctor. According to the Our Care survey reported by the CBC, In 2019, 4.5 million Canadians did not have a family doctor. As of early 2024, that number exploded to 6.5 million. That is 22% of the population. 1 in 5 Canadians cannot get basic medical care. They cannot get a prescription. They cannot get a referral. So where do they go? They go to the emergency room, and the ERs are a war zone. According to 2024 data from the CHI, 9 out of 10 patients admitted to the hospital from the ER waited up to 48.5 hours for a bed, not 48 hours for treatment. 48 hours lying on a gurney in a hallway after a doctor already said they were sick enough to be admitted. This is a system in total failure. And what about specialized care? The Fraser Institute published its 2024 wait time report. The median wait time from a family doctor referral to actually getting treatment from a specialist is now 30 weeks. That's 7 months. 7 months to see a cardiologist. 7 months to get an MRI for a potential tumor. 7 months for a knee replacement. This isn't an inconvenience. This is a life-threatening breakdown of the social contract. This is what happens when you pour gasoline on a fire. The high influx of temporary residents who pay taxes but who also use services was the gasoline. The failing infrastructure was the fire. The 5% temporary resident cut is the government's desperate, panicked attempt to turn off the pump. It's too late, but they have to be seen doing something. This is a political panic. And when governments panic, they don't look for surgical solutions. They look for scapegoats. The targets, the woe. So who gets cut? If you are removing hundreds of thousands of people from the equation, who are they? This isn't a random lottery. This is a strategic purge. The government isn't just cutting numbers. It's filtering types of people. And there are 3 groups on the front lines bearing the entire weight of this national failure. Number 1, the international student business model. For 15 years, Canada ran one of the world's largest, most profitable diploma mills. It worked like this. Canadian colleges, especially private colleges, saw their government funding dry up. So they turned to international students, charging them 3, 4, or 5 times what a Canadian student pays. It became a multi-billion-dollar business. It was a cash for visa scheme, and the government encouraged it. They sold a simple, false promise. Come study business administration at a strip mall college in suburban Toronto, and you'll get a work permit and an easy path to permanent residency. Millions of people bought that dream. Now that dream is over. The IRCC temporary resident cut is aimed directly at this group. First, the cap itself. IRCC announced in September 2025 that the cap on new student visas will drop another 10% in 2025, down to $437,000. But here is the hidden detail. For the first time, master's and PhD students, who were previously safe, are now included in that cap. They get a priority 12% of the spots, but they are no longer exempt. The government is tightening the screws everywhere. Second, the money wall. As of September 2025, according to Immigration to Canada, the proof of funds requirement has jumped to $22,895. That is in addition to tuition. This is designed to price out students from poorer nations. The impact is clear. The diploma mill business model is dead. IRCC is signaling that if you are not at a top-tier university in a master's or PhD program, Canada does not want you. For the hundreds of thousands who are already here, they've been trapped, which brings us to the second target. Number 2, the end of the easy post-graduation work permit, PGWP. This is perhaps the most brutal part of the new Canada immigration changes. The post-graduation work permit, or PGWP, was the golden ticket. It was the core of the Canadian dream. The promise was that after you graduated from almost any program, you would get an open work permit for up to 3 years. You could work any job, barista, Uber driver, marketing assistant. It didn't matter. You just needed 1 year of work experience, and you could apply for permanent residency. It was the easiest immigration pathway in the developed world. That pathway has been demolished. First, they attacked the source. As of March 2025, according to data from Study Buddy Canada, students graduating from the popular public-private partnership colleges are still not eligible for a PGWP. These were the strip mall colleges. Tens of thousands of students who were already enrolled suddenly found out their degree was worthless for immigration. It was a massive betrayal. But the real wall is what comes after the PGWP. It's the category-based wall. In the past, the express entry system was a simple points game. Your age, your education, your language skills. Now, as CIC News confirmed in March 2025, the express entry system for 2025 and beyond is almost entirely focused on category-based selection. This means the government doesn't care about your points. It only cares about your job. Are you in healthcare? Are you in skilled trades? Are you in STEM? Are you a French speaker? If the answer is no, your application will sit in the pool forever. This is the PGWP Changes Canada 2026 reality. If you graduated with a business degree and you're working in retail, if you have a hospitality diploma and you're a shift manager at a coffee shop, your points don't matter anymore. Your work experience is worthless. There are hundreds of thousands of PGWP holders in Canada right now whose permits are expiring in 2025 and 2026. They are working, they are paying taxes, and they now have zero path to stay. Their easy path to PR has vanished. They were the engine of Canada's growth. Now they are the collateral damage, which brings us to the third and most invisible target. Number 3, the disposable workforce, TFWs. This is the group no one talks about. The Temporary Foreign Worker Program, or TFW. These are the workers brought in through LMIAs, Labor Market Impact Assessments. They are the people who pick the fruit, work in the meatpacking plants, and clean the hotel rooms. They are the low-wage, low-skill workers that Canadian industry became addicted to. This addiction allowed companies to keep wages artificially low for decades. The government is now forcing a detox. First, the 50% cut. As reported by the Times of India in October 2025, the number of TFW work permits issued in the first half of 2025 plummeted by 50%. The government has placed a moratorium on new low-wage LMIAs in any region with an unemployment rate over 6%. They are choking off the supply. But the real killer is the LMIA points. This is the fatal blow. For years, the secret path to PR for a TFW was to get an LMIA. That single document gave you a massive 50 or even 200-point boost in the express entry system. It was a golden ticket. According to the Ottawa Business Journal, as of spring 2025, that point boost is gone. The 50 and 200-point bonus for an LMIA-backed job offer has been eliminated. The impact of this is staggering. It means the TFW program is no longer a backdoor to PR. It is a dead end. Canada has shifted its entire philosophy. It's moving from importing low-wage workers to forcing companies to finally automate or pay local Canadians a living wage. The TFW is now once again truly temporary. And for the thousands already here, they are disposable. The new reality and the spike, let's be clear. This 5% Canada temporary resident cap is not a policy. It is a reaction. It is the beginning of a fundamental identity shift for Canada. The government failed to plan. They failed to build housing. They failed to fund hospitals. They failed to connect their immigration policy to the country's actual absorption capacity. And now they are paying the price. The era of easy welcome, the era of the golden ticket PGWP, the era of Canada is open. That is over. The new era is one of strategic selection. This is the spike, the central thesis. Canada no longer wants more people. It wants the right people. The IRCC temporary resident cut is a filter. It's a filter designed to purge the low-value immigrants. The business students, the retail workers, the food service employees, and fast-track the high-value ones. The PGWP Changes Canada 2026 are a signal. They are telling the world, Canada is no longer a settlement country, it is a recruitment country. We don't want your tired, your poor, your huddled masses. We want your plumbers, we want your nurses, we want your electricians, we want your French-speaking PhDs. This is a new, colder, more calculating Canada. The Canadian dream is being rewritten. It's becoming more like the American system. It's more competitive. It's more ruthless. and it's far more uncertain. The identity of a nation is changing, and many will not be in the new chapter. Conclusion and flywheel. We've seen the data that forced the government's hand. The housing market, broken. The healthcare system, collapsed. This is the why. We've identified the targets, the students, the PGWP holders, the foreign workers. This is the who, but I want to know what you're seeing on the ground. This is the resonance point. Are these cuts a necessary correction to save Canada's social fabric? Or is this a political panic, a betrayal of the 3.1 million people who were invited in, that will cripple the economy for the long run? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. So, with the door closing for many, where is the new window opening? IRCC is making it very clear. They don't just want more people, they want specific people. In our next video, we will break down the exact sectors, the trades and healthcare jobs that are being fast-tracked for permanent residency in 2026. We will analyze the specific NA codes and the exact steps you need to take to get in line. Make sure you are subscribed. Thanks for watching.